Hello and welcome to day 38 of 100, the physical aspect of ourselves. So the physical aspect, this is our body. This is, we can see it, feel it, touch it, experience pain, warmth, cold, what have you. The physical aspect, as I said, is the most apparent, and this is where things show up and manifest, but this is not necessarily where they start. This is where they end. A lot of times people think things start in the physical, but that's not how I see it. I see it as things manifest, they end here. This is where they become apparent and obvious, they show up. But for example, if we are sick, it isn't necessarily always about physical. Sometimes, no, not sometimes, a lot of times, most of the time, our emotions can make us sick. Sometimes when we bury our emotions, they will manifest through illness. Other times it can be just, if you've ever read anything by Carolyn, and I think her name is pronounced Mace, some amazing things that she talks about. She looks at various illnesses. I have one of her books where you can look up various illnesses, and she will talk about either the emotional or sometimes spiritual or sometimes the mental or psychological reasons that this illness is manifested in our bodies. I know when I first was as a certain age where my hormones were changing, all right, and later in life, not earlier, not puberty, but through menopause, I noticed that I was high risk. I'm just, because of my size, my stature, I'm high risk for osteoporosis, even though I don't engage in any of the bad behaviors. It's like I say I realize I'm high risk for osteoporosis before I get out of bed in the morning because I'm 5'1", petite frame. I have less than a 6-inch wrist, and all these factors. And I don't engage in any of the dangerous ones. So I looked up osteoporosis in her book, and she said it's a feeling of lack of support. And I thought that's really interesting because at that time in my life, I did feel a lack of support from some people very close to me. So I've worked on building my support system and ridding myself of that emotional feeling of lack of support. As well as I really worked spiritually to understand that I did have a lot of support spiritually, emotionally, physically through friends, and through a wonderful support system. I no longer feel like I have a lack of support. I have quite a tribe of people, and more than one tribe. I have several tribes, if you will, of people who I know will give me great support. And I never felt that quite as strongly as I felt when my husband passed away. But I have felt it many times since. And now, since, recently with my mom passing away, I have felt great support, and that has carried and sustained me. So I'm working on working on the emotional, spiritual, mental part, and I'm also working on the physical part. So realize that just because we experience something in the physical doesn't mean it's divorced from the spirit, emotions, or intellect. So, there's something else I wanted to say, and I didn't write down any notes. I'm just going cold turkey. I'll do a little sidebar here and say that we had a wonderful weekend, and a lot of times my mind isn't on work or isn't on a lot of times it isn't on serious things. In fact, we had a very physical weekend because we went to a friend's wedding, as I said in my last video, last night, and we danced up a storm, and then we had dance class this afternoon. Tom and I are taking a waltz class. So I'm a little bit distracted and not thinking as much about work. But, I know what I wanted to say. It came back to me. So remember a few days ago, I asked the question, where should we make decisions? What aspect of ourselves should we use to make decisions? Should it be the spiritual aspect? That's a wonderful place to start, but I don't recommend just staying there because we want to consider all the aspects. Certainly not the emotional aspect, because that can be very skewed. The intellectual aspect is a good source of information, but that's it. I like to look at the intellectual or mental part of ourselves as like a computer. In fact, I think the computer is patterned off the human brain. I don't think it's the other way around. I don't think the brain is like the computer. I think a computer is like a human brain. Our human brain stores vast amounts of information. I think in fact, we're far more intelligent. We have far more abilities than any computer designed. The difference with computers is they have the ability to recall things more quickly, where we might forget them. They're still stored in our brain, but our conscious mind might forget them. So I think that of our brain as a human, it's like a computer. And frankly, I would not go to my computer and say, well, gee, what should I do with it? Should I move or take this new job, or should I marry this person, or should I go to this university or whatever? Sometimes just going to a computer that's full of facts and figures and information is not necessarily the best place to make decisions. It just provides you with facts, information that might be necessary. And we certainly don't want to make our decisions with our physical bodies. Again, I use the example of a teenager because they often make decisions about what feels good, both emotionally, what makes them feel better, which may not be the best thing for them. And certainly, with all those hormones, making decisions with your physical body is not necessarily a good idea, no matter what your age, but certainly not the ages of a teenager. So where do we make decisions? Well, we want to make decisions using all four of those aspects. But how do we do that? Where do we get the balance? That's what I'm going to share with you tomorrow, where does all this balance happen? So that's what I'm going to share tomorrow. In the meantime, I hope you had a great weekend. And if you worked over the weekend, then I hope that whatever time you have off, upcoming during the week, that you have a good time and enjoy some time off, enjoy some time with family and friends, etc. And have a pleasant evening, and I'll come back to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.